first thing, one of the keys is, unlike any other traditional bankruptcy, a judge has to be assigned, and normally it's a blind draw. When you file the case, it's whoever's next in line to get a case, you get him or her. In a Chapter 9 bankruptcy, the presiding judge is actually selected by the Chief Judge of the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati. And it's not necessarily a judge who sits in Detroit regularly. It can be a judge from Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, or Tennessee. So that's the first thing to look for. It may be somebody with no local ties whatsoever, or it may be a Detroit-based judge. Secondly, the petition itself has to contain a statement of eligibility. Under the bankruptcy code, the city has to be eligible for relief under the bankruptcy code, and there's a variety of things it has to demonstrate, including that it's insolvent, and in this instance it would mean that the city's not paying its bills as and when they're due. But that having been said, the city doesn't have to wait till it's bouncing checks to determine that it's insolvent. Second, it's got to make a demonstration that it's acting in good faith and that it has a real desire to restructure its debts. And the filing also has to be authorized by state law, so Governor Snyder will have to sign off on any filing by the city in advance. And there has to be a statement of eligibility contained with the petition, and it'll be a narrative which looks a lot like what Kevin Orr submitted in his report as to how it is Detroit got into this mess and what the nature of the obligations are, the magnitude, and what assets it may have to help satisfy those liabilities. The filing of the list of creditors is required as part of the filing. So it will be bondholders. It'll range anywhere from the bondholders all the way down to the company that provides them, supplies them with pencils, provided that they're owed money. So it's everybody on the list. People who provide janitorial services, potentially a list of employees who are owed money, unions, pensioners. You have to file an exhaustive list, because every one of those creditors is entitled to notice of all the proceedings. As to how long the process will take, that depends upon how many challenges and the nature of challenges from the creditors. Typically in Chapter 9 proceedings, the challenges come early on in the form of objections to very eligibility for relief under Chapter 9, whether it's a claim by the creditors that the city's not insolvent, or they haven't acted in good faith in their negotiations, or any number of other factors. So that really sets the tone for how long the proceeding may take. In Jefferson County, Alabama, and Stockton, California, objections were filed by the creditors to the eligibility, and the determination of eligibility took a year. So only after a determination was made in each instance by the judge that they were eligible to proceed did the actual proceedings take place. But there's a lot of litigation that goes on in advance of that, which results in a tremendous amount of costs being incurred by the city. Immediately upon the filing of a bankruptcy, residents won't notice a difference. Over time, the plan of adjustment, which is really nothing more than a new contract, may lay out what things are going to change, what processes, who's going to handle, who's got responsibility for the lighting, who's got responsibility for providing water services, how the police are going to be deployed. But one of the keys in laying out what the plan is a determination of how we're going to provide funding for all of these things. The overarching concern for Kevin Orr in this plan is public safety. That cannot be ignored, and he cannot sell off assets at the expense of public safety. So he's got to make sure that the residents are secure, and part of the plan may include funding for police, and how they're going to be deployed. So what the plan will look like is how we're going to service the debt, how things are going to be restructured, what assets, if any, are going to be sold off with money paid to some of the creditors to help reduce the debt structure, maybe a change in terms over time, that bondholders don't get paid in 2 years, they get paid in 20 years. A variety of factors. And really all the plan of adjustment is a new contract. And what Kevin Orr is trying to do is trade promises to the creditor that the city cannot keep for promises that they can.